Він зараз наїбнеться спорим.
Crypto is very much a hot mess right now. We have all of the drama with Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX. The value of the FTT token has plummeted off a cliff. And then there's been this back and forth news between Binance and the FTX exchange. That has impacted the price of Bitcoin. That has impacted the price of altcoins, of course, as we just saw in that meme. But see, the FTX event has also impacted the price on Solana because FTX, and by extension Alameda Holdings, was purportedly also a major investor in Solana. And so we've seen a very violent drop in the token price of Sol. And then in addition, add to that the variable that there is a Sol token release from staking pools that is happening right now. So a lot of people were anticipating even more bloodshed for today. We are going to break things down rationally and systematically. We're going to take a look at one of our favorites, Solana, and its Sol token. And actually, there are some other coins that are held in the portfolio of Alameda Holdings. Those are perhaps the altcoins people ought to be more worried about. There's never a dull moment in crypto. Let's start with a little bit of context here. So the demise, I guess you could call it at this point, of FTX, this has had ripple effects, which are spreading through the rest of the cryptocurrency community, of course, in the last 24 hours. And the results have been pretty rough. If you take a look at the TVL, that's the total value locked for Solana, it has dropped by over 30% in the last 24 hours alone. And just for reference, a year ago at this time, Solana's TVL was $10.17 billion. Quite a few similar declines have been observed in these last 24 hours on several significant Solana protocols, including the liquid staking protocol, Lido, that's down over 43%. The lending protocol, Solend, down over 63%. And the automated market maker, Radium, they're down 34%. Ultimately, the Binance FTX incident set off a cascading effect that resulted in the demise of FTX, one of the most well-known exchanges in the world. Binance started selling its FTT holdings, which then caused FTX to start liquidating its holdings to raise more money. And as of late, FTX had large interests in Solana. Sam Bankman-Fried, who is the CEO of FTX, a name that you're probably familiar with by this point, he even claimed that Solana was one of the most underappreciated cryptocurrencies. Solana and Ethereum were sold in enormous quantities in order to raise more capital. And then according to Amber Data, that's a source of data on digital assets, according to them, Sol's 7-day implied volatility, which measures predicted price volatility over the short term, that has soared to an annualized 270%, which is twice as high as Bitcoin's 135%. And so in comparison to Bitcoin, Sol's 30-day implied volatility has increased to 190%. And now the value of Sol and the realistic prospect for rather large-scale liquidations, this all has traders understandably on edge. And that's because Sol is a collateral asset. And when FTX and or Alameda, when they want to raise money, and they need money right now, they need liquidity, they have the option to liquidate Sol as a collateral asset. And then, of course, as a result, the options market is pricing Sol versus BTC with greater volatility as a consequence. And as I'm recording here, we have over $800 million worth of Sol holdings belonging to the Solana validators who guard the blockchain that's now becoming available. Like, this is happening live as I'm speaking. And the sum represents 5.4% of the cryptocurrency's total supply. And even Crypto.com has now suspended all deposits and withdrawals for both Tether USDT and Circle's USDC on specifically the Solana network. Now, here are the details surrounding that gigantic token unlock. We're talking about over 60 million Sol tokens worth, at this point, somewhere between $700 and $800 million. Like I said, this unlock event is now live. But despite all of the volatility that we've seen in the last 24 hours, we're actually noticing a pretty sizable uptick in the last 4 to 6 hours or so. But at least at the time of this recording, the price of Sol almost paradoxically seems to be going up. It's still early stages. This is just really the very first chapter of this unlock event. And so things can certainly change from here. So again, this is a huge amount of Sol that is being unlocked. 13% of the coin's circulating supply. It's actually going to be the second largest token unlock of Solana in terms of the number of coins being unstaked by validators, but at least at the time of this recording, it does not yet seem to be having an impact. But when it comes to Alameda Holdings, Solana is not the whole story. In fact, there are a lot of other tokens here that are arguably more at risk when it comes to Alameda. We have things like Bybit token, LDOSRM, FTT, obviously. So arguably, Solana right now is not at risk from Alameda. However, Kraken does think that Solana might run into big problems, and they removed themselves as a validator. So we're seeing a major vote of non-confidence there. But the price action, like I said, at least for now, is kind of surprisingly strong. Think of it this way. Solana is a highly centralized project. And so if anything does go wrong, at least that centralization means that the team can pause the chain and potentially solve it. So silver lining, I suppose. Big private validators are exiting the project, and with fewer validators, you have a higher single party risk, and that's why we saw the precipitous fall in Solana's TVL. And the volume went up. That was caused, of course, by a lot of selling pressure. But who's selling SOL right now? Well, the number of new wallets is stable since last month. The number of active old wallets is also stable. Validators are selling and venture capitalists are selling. And that means that OGs and the team, they're not selling SOL, at least not right now. And it appears as though a lot of people took advantage of the $10 mark as a great buying opportunity. So let's end with a little bit of optimism here. The fate of Solana actually looks pretty good, at least compared to the fate of FTT. And in his last attempt to save the exchange, Sam Bankman-Fried can liquidate, yes, around $500 million worth of Solana, which might add significant supply pressure. But other than that, Solana looks like it's going to be okay to recover, perhaps even to the $20 level, perhaps even today. Solana's APY is still just under 8%, or I should say maybe over 7%, which is attractive. So there is a high possibility that these validators may return after the volatility subsides. And look, since Solana doesn't have an OTC system over the counter, these validators are going to have to buy from open markets, which means quick returns of Solana to hopefully a $20 level in the very near future. Again, perhaps today.